Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the College Ambassadorships Tufts panel. For those of you who have not heard of the College Ambassadorship, it is a branch of the Student Science Innovation Network and is a peer-to-peer mentoring program of college students helping high school students navigate college admissions and pre-med. The College Ambassadorship program is run by me and Annika Kashyap, a rising sophomore at Rice University. Today's event has been coordinated by James, one of our panelists, and I. To briefly introduce myself, I'm Smitha. I use the She series, and I'm a rising sophomore at Tufts studying community health and women's studies on the pre-med track. At Tufts, I'm involved in Tufts Globe Med and Tufts Association of South Asians. Outside of Tufts, I enjoy running, cooking, and playing violin. Currently, I'm involved in public health research that's centered on building a comprehensive COVID-19 curriculum for students in Bihar, India, and I am a leader for Tufts Wilderness Orientation.
For today's panel, we will be joined by 5 current Tufts undergraduates who are all pre-med. They will be providing us with insight on Tufts, and at the end we'll have a Q&A session where we can answer any questions people have about Tufts. We hope this presentation helps you gauge whether Tufts might be a good fit for you. Without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce our panelists for today. All right, so hi, I am James. I'm a sophomore at Tufts, part of the class of 2023. Currently, I'm majoring in biomedical engineering, and then I'm minoring in dance and minoring in math, and then I'm also on the pre-med track. At Tufts, I am part of the social media board for the Tufts Tap Ensemble, and then I worked last year during freshman year as a student research assistant at Kaplan Lab, and then I'm also a member of the Tufts Biomedical Engineering Society. And then outside Tufts, I work as a volunteer contact tracer for Bucks County Department of Health at Pennsylvania. And then I'm also part of the projects team for Mission Medication, which is a small nonprofit that focuses on different global health issues, specifically in New Delhi, India.
Hi, I'm Maha, and I'm also a sophomore in the class of 2023. And I'm majoring in biochemistry, and I'm also on the pre-med track. And at Tufts, I'm the layout editor on the e-board for Tufts Bioethics Journal. I'm very involved with the Tufts Association of South Asians, as well as KDSAP and the Muslim Student Association. And then outside Tufts, I'm doing some research with Broad Street's COVID-19 data research project. And I also spent some time volunteering at the Winchester Hospital.
Hi, I'm Yana. I use the She series, and I'm a rising sophomore, class of 2023. At the moment, I'm undecided, but I'm planning on creating my own interdisciplinary major, combining biomedical sciences, community health, and entrepreneurship on the pre-med track. At Tufts, I did research at the Jacob Lab at the Tufts Medical School Neuroscience Department. I'm on the e-board for Tufts Pre-Medical Society and Tufts Biology Research. And I was also a committee member and a clinic volunteer for the Project Share. I was also an honor DJ for the WMFO Tufts Freeform Radio, and I was also a part of Team Tusk. Outside of Tufts right now, I'm interning through UC Berkeley's Political Science Department, researching the mental health impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement.
Hi everyone, I'm Kayla. I'm a sophomore at Tufts. My major is in biology with a minor in nutrition and food systems, and I'm on the pre-med track. At Tufts, I'm part of Peace Games. I'm a copy editor and features writer for the Tufts Daily, a writer for the Tufts Scope Bioethics Journal, and a tutor. Outside of Tufts, I maintain my gluten-free and dairy-free website, To You From Scratch. I'm currently an intern at the Massachusetts Food Systems Collaborative and Mercato Metropolitano, which is a sustainable market looking to come from the UK to the United States. And I'm also interested in yoga.
Perfect. So please join me in virtually welcoming all of our panelists today. Thank you all for taking the time to talk about Tufts today. To start off, we'll discuss what academics are like at Tufts and what distinguishes Tufts academics from other colleges. We'll be emphasizing Tufts' focus on liberal arts, disciplinary learning, and a collaborative environment. So at Tufts, there are many undergraduate schools. On the Medford campus, there's the School of Arts and Sciences, as well as the School of Engineering. And then in Boston, there's the campus for the School of the Museum of Fine Arts, as well as the dual degree program where students commute from the SMFA to the Medford campus. So on the left, we have the Medford campus, and then on the right, we have the SMFA campus. So in terms of core curriculum at Tufts, for the School of Arts and Sciences, there is a focus on liberal arts. So as an undergraduate, you'll be taking many classes to fulfill distribution requirements. So these include classes in natural sciences, social sciences, mathematical sciences, humanities, and arts. There's also a first-year writing requirement of 2 semesters, a language requirement of 6 semesters, and a world civilization requirement of that's just 1 class.
For the School of Engineering, they do try to emphasize an interdisciplinary learning environment. So we have what are called HAAS requirements, which stands for Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. And there are a certain amount of credits that you have to get in order to fulfill your degree. And basically these are in humanities or social science related classes or art classes. And they range from anything from psychology to community health to any kind of dance class or something like that. So they are requirements that help you fulfill that interdisciplinary approach that Tufts is very adamant about. Beyond the HAAS requirement, obviously you're gonna have your math and lab science requirements. For math, there's about 4 semesters. And then lab science requirements differ depending on your specific engineering major. So you can imagine that for chemical engineering, there's gonna be a lot more chemistry classes. Biomedical engineering is gonna have like a lot of the different lab sciences. Where something like mechanical engineering might focus a little bit more on physics and less about like biology and chemistry. And then also when you're an engineering major, you're going to have different foundation and concentration electives that go beyond your core engineering curriculum. So for example, you might have classes such as organic chemistry for a biomedical engineer major that help you fulfill certain foundation electives, and they basically just broaden your horizons and allow you to get a better sense of what exactly your major is going to focus on and all the different aspects that you can focus on once you graduate.
Perfect. And then moving into social sciences at Tufts, there's many different social sciences to choose from, but just some of these include anthropology, sociology, and political studies. Again, there's many more that you can find on the Tufts website. But what makes Tufts social sciences very unique are its interdisciplinary programs. So a few of these include community health and women's gender and sexuality studies. I personally chose to come to Tufts for its community health program because it's something very unique to Tufts. And I wanted to study medicine with a more holistic social sciences lens. And I think community health does that. It's more of a public health focused program, but it also touches on elements of medicine and sociology, political studies, and other things. And then women's gender and sexuality studies is also really cool because it approaches feminist issues from an intersectional perspective, and it's really cool to study in addition to community health. And then Yana is going to talk about creating your own major.
Yeah, so Tufts provides a very unique opportunity for students to create their own major across multiple areas of study. So if not one major specifically appeals to you, you can definitely go out and create your own major by combining different areas of studies, and also you're able to create your own curriculums too.
Cool. Okay, and then in terms of natural sciences, there's many different lab sciences that you can major in. So one of these is biology. So if Kayla would want to talk about that.
Biology is a really strong department at Tufts, and the teachers are absolutely incredible. As a freshman, you'll probably be taking Bio 13, which is more molecular based. And then in the spring, you'll take Bio 14, which is more about the environment and animals and evolution. So the biology department is a really great department if you want to study it.
Perfect. And then there's also many other lab sciences like chemistry and physics and many others. And then there's also interdisciplinary programs related to natural sciences. So these combine different natural science interests. So Maha is going to talk about biochem.
Yeah, so biochemistry sort of is co-administered by the biology and chemistry departments, and it sort of focuses on the chemistry of living systems. In your freshman year, you're most likely going to be taking Chem 1 or 2 or 11 and 12. And the distribution requirements for biochem are kind of just like any other natural science major. You have lab, lectures, and seminar courses. And I'd say that like majors within the natural sciences such as biochem are kind of great, whether or not you're for medicine, law, physical and social sciences, engineering, or public policy. And like I really strongly believe that the natural sciences department at Tufts really provides both basic and advanced classes, and it sort of gives you the benefits of a major public research, major research university, not public, but with the environment of a small liberal arts college. Yeah.
Perfect. And then some of the other interdisciplinary programs within natural sciences at Tufts are biopsychology. This is a common one among pre-meds, biotech, and then science, society, and tech. So you can explore more about these on the Tufts website.
So with engineering, there's a lot of different requirements. So in every single engineering major, there's going to be 4 semesters of math. That's going to be Calc 1 through 3, as well as differential equations. You can do more semesters if you want to, but they're not required. And then there's different lab science requirements depending on the major. As I said before, with like chemical engineering, you're going to have to do Chem 1, 2, or 11 and 12, and then Orgo. And I'm pretty sure physical chemistry is also required. But with like biomedical engineering, it's just Chem 1, 2, and then 2 semesters of physics, and then like some other stuff. Also with engineering, we have the HOS electives that I mentioned before. So for your major, it depends, but it usually ranges between 18 to 24 required credits. 1 class has to be a social science, and 1 class has to be humanities. Community health and psychology and sociology can all be used to reduce HOS electives. Those 3 specifically all count as a social science. But as I said before, only 1 has to be humanities, so you can figure that out. There's a lot of awesome different classes that you can take that fulfill the humanities requirement. You could also, if you're somebody who's doing a dance minor like me, you could just do like one class in the humanities, 1 class in the social science, and then like fulfill the rest of those requirements with dance classes. That's what I'm doing. Highly recommend. So specifically for biomedical engineering, as I mentioned before, Chem 1, 2, Physics 11, and 12 are all lab science requirements for biomedical engineers. Those also would fulfill your Chem and Physics requirements for pre-med at Tufts, and for other schools if you decide to apply to other medical schools. Your biology requirement is covered by BME 33 and 34, which are basically similar to Bio 13 and Bio 14 for most other majors, except that with BME 33 and 34, there's more of an emphasis on like genetic engineering and more of the engineering aspects. So a lot of like CRISPR-Cas9 and stuff like that. And then beyond your main requirements, you also have foundation electives. So for biomedical engineering, you can fulfill your organic chemistry and biochemistry requirement by assigning those as your foundation electives. And basically you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You get your foundation electives out of the way, and you fulfill your requirement for getting organic chemistry and biochem out of the way. One thing I will mention that's unique about Tufts is that at most other schools, you usually have to do 2 semesters of organic chemistry to fulfill your Orgo requirement for pre-med, but at Tufts, they feel as though that the 1 semester of organic chemistry is very comprehensive and pretty much covers all the necessary topics, especially because part of Orgo is covered in the end of Chem 2. So that is one thing to keep in mind, that there is an advantage with the Tufts pre-med and that you can get that 1 semester, 2 semesters of Orgo covered by just 1. All right, so as many of the panelists have mentioned, academics at Tufts are unique because they are centered around interdisciplinary learning. Thank you all for that insight. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be pre-med at Tufts and what opportunities Tufts can offer you for pre-med students. So one thing I can talk a little bit about is getting involved with student research. One thing I will mention before is that there's different intersections between different academic disciplines. And so a couple of the labs that are very well known at Tufts are the Kaplan Lab, the Jacob Lab, and I will also mention the Odin Lab, which is another biomedical engineering related lab. So Kaplan and Odin, I can talk a little bit about. I did some student research at Kaplan Lab last year. I got involved with a postdoctoral student who was studying the effects of protein biomaterials and combining it with silk research. The one really unique thing about Kaplan Lab is that they do a ton of research just with silk and how it can benefit different biomedical engineering research aspects. So the one that I was specifically assigned to was a guy who was trying to create a replacement material for the vitreous material, which is in the back of the eye, because when that gets damaged, it doesn't self-regenerate. And so basically he was trying to create a replacement material using silk and creating this silk hydrogel that could act as a replacement. And I thought it was very fascinating. I got to do a lot of hands-on like experimentation. So a lot of like the centrifuge, dialysis and stuff like that, which I found really fascinating. If you are also interested, the Odin Lab, which is hosted by Professor Madeline Odin, she does a lot of the different biomedical engineering core classes. She has a phenomenal lab that's focused on cancer metastasis research and how that can be combined with biomedical engineering and basically how we can prevent the increased spreading of cancer to different parts of the body. So I think it's really fascinating. That's definitely an awesome lab that you can get involved with if interested.
And so Tufts students also have the opportunity to do research at the Tufts Med School, which is in Boston. So the past semester, I did research at the Jacob Lab, which was at the neuroscience department of the Tufts Medical School. And I studied the neuronal connections in mice brain to investigate human cognitive disability, such as autism. And I learned so much at the lab, and it was very hands-on. I learned like different like lab procedures, like immunohistochemistry. So it was a really great experience.
Cool. And then just to point out like where the research happens at Tufts, like James mentioned, much of it does happen at Tufts undergrad. So in the science and engineering complex, as well as the collaborative learning and innovation complex. And then as Yana mentioned, some undergrads choose to do research at Tufts School of Medicine or even Tufts Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences. So on the left, we do have the science and engineering complex, like I mentioned, and then on the right is the collaborative learning and innovation complex, also known as 574 by many Tufts students. So in terms of volunteering, Tufts has many opportunities to offer. So Yana is going to talk about Project Share.
Yeah, so Project Share is an organization that works with Project Sharewood, which is a clinic that is run by Tufts medical students to provide healthcare for people who might not be able to afford it. And Project Share has different committees that will work on reaching out into the community to spread the word about Project Sharewood Clinic, or just spreading word about the different things that the clinic is doing on campus. So there's a lot of great opportunities that come with it. And also some students are able to go volunteer at clinic as well.
Perfect. And then Maha, would you want to just briefly talk about KDSAP?
Yeah, so KDSAP stands for like Kidney Disease Screening and Awareness Program. And the Tufts chapter sort of like allows volunteers to go into communities and perform like basic health screenings, all related to chronic kidney disease. And the program also like has a really great opportunity for shadowing as well. And so it's really great.
And then Kayla, would you want to talk about Tufts Carmichael Society as well as Peace Games?
Sure. So Tufts Leonard Carmichael Society is kind of an umbrella for a bunch of volunteer opportunities. One of the ones that I'm involved in is the Tufts Peace Games, and this is a really great program. What we do is we go into elementary schools in the Somerville and Medford area, and we teach them something related to peace or peace building and conflict resolving activities. And other opportunities through the Tufts Carmichael Society is Best Buddies, in which it's a mentorship program where you're matched up with children of varying abilities. And another thing that I like to do is to tutor through the Leonard Carmichael Society. But there are so many options. You could really find a club that fits whatever your interests are.
Perfect. And then Maha, Kayla, and Yenna, all of you guys are going to talk about clubs and organizations. I'll just preface this by saying that Tufts does have a lot of clubs, so there's over 300 for you to choose from. So these are really just a small portion of many. So yeah, so in terms of pre-med, Yenna, would you want to talk about Tufts Pre-Med Society?
Yeah, so Tufts Premed Society is a huge organization where all pre-med students, like from first years to fourth years, who will together. There's also like a mentorship program for upcoming, like for freshman students to like hear more advice on like the pre-med track and like how to get involved in research, what courses to take. And throughout the year, the Premed Society will also host different events specifically for pre-med students, whether it's like speaker events from like doctors or from like academic advisors to give advice on like what classes to take and like the course loads and how to find different opportunities. So yeah.
Perfect. And then Tufts also has many unique global health centered programs. So I'm involved in Tufts Globe Med, and Tufts Globe Med partners with a nonprofit called Phase Nepal and hopes to deliver sustainable, equitable healthcare solutions to communities in Nepal. So that's a really great organization. I know there's also like Timmy Global Health and other different similar programs. And then there's also Tufts Scope Bioethics Journal, which I'm wondering if Maha would want to talk about.
Yeah, so that's the interdisciplinary journal of health, ethics, and policy, and it sort of provides an academic forum for discussion of pertinent healthcare and biosocial issues. And it's really operated and edited totally by undergraduate students of Tufts University, and it's one of the only few peer-reviewed undergraduate published journals that we have still in the country. And Tufts releases like two issues a year. Yeah.
Perfect. And then there's also many other like general clubs. These are just a few of many. As I had mentioned, there's over 300, but some of these include Tufts Association of South Asians, which puts on a bunch of different fun culture-related events throughout the year. And then there's also Ultimate Frisbee, which is a popular one among undergrads, the Tufts Daily, TCU Senate, and many more. And then I'm going to talk about something that makes Tufts super unique, which is Tufts Early Assurance Program. So for the Early Assurance Program, you apply to the program as a Tufts sophomore, and if admitted, you're considered a candidate for the Tufts School of Medicine. And then your senior year of college, you apply as a candidate to Tufts School of Medicine using a special AMCAS application. And if your GPA and class requirements are met, you're granted admission to Tufts Med. And what's really nice about this and unique is that it's not binding and there's no MCAT required. So it's a great program that Tufts does offer. So to sum up, Tufts has boundless research, volunteering, and networking opportunities for you to choose from. Now we'll transition to talking about what you can do outside at Tufts, outside of the classroom, and what social life at Tufts is like. So first we'll talk about housing and dining. So Kayla, would you want to talk about first years and sophomores' living arrangements?
So first years and sophomores must live on campus. The first year dorms include singles and doubles. There are a bunch of renovated dorms which are really nice. You get a kitchen on your first floor along with a laundry. Sophomore dorms include 10-person suites, doubles, singles, etc. And you can form a group with your friends ranging from 4 people, which is a quad, to 10-person suites. So you have a lot of variability in what you would like to do in your sophomore year.
Perfect. And then for juniors and seniors, they mostly live off campus. Some do live on campus, but many tend to live in houses that are very close to Tufts. And what's nice is that even if you do end up, renting out a house, your house is likely to be like only a few streets away from Tufts campus, since Medford is a pretty small community. And in terms of dining, there's 2 main dining halls at Tufts. There's Carmichael Dining Hall, which is the uphill dining hall, and then there's DeWitt Dining Hall, which is downhill. And then there's also many to-go options like Hodgdon, which is a popular one. Also PAX, which has more like sandwiches and things like that. And then there's also late night dining, which is kind of cool. It's a nice way to just like socialize with your friends on the weekends and get some food. And then there's the Kindleven Cafe, which is located in the SEC. So that's a great option as well. So yeah, on the left, there's a first year dorm, Miller Hall. I personally lived here my first year, and it was a really, really nice space, very modern, renovated. There's a very modern kitchen on the first floor and 2 study rooms on each floor, which are nice. If you don't want to trudge to the library late at night, you can just sit there and study. And then on the right, there's Carmichael Dining Hall, which is, like I mentioned, one of the 2 main dining halls. And this one is uphill, just a nice place to socialize with friends again after all of your classes are done and whatnot. So in terms of the Tufts community, there's many different things that make it unique, but among these are the Tufts pre-orientation programs and Tufts orientation. Most colleges only offer orientation, but Tufts also offers pre-orientation, which is just basically that you're put into a group of like 6 to 8 other first years, and the group is led by 2 upperclassmen leaders, and each different type of pre-orientation has a different focus. So focus is all about community service, 2 is about taking hiking trips, and there's different other fun options. And then there's many religious groups. So Kayla, if you'd want to talk about Tufts Hillel.
Hillel is a Jewish organization on campus, and they host a bunch of events, including one of my favorites, which is Challah for Hunger, in which you make challah breads and you sign up to make the dough and braid it, and they sell the breads and the proceeds go to a certain charity. Yeah.
Perfect. And then there's also Tufts Hindu Student Council and many other religious affinity groups. And then Maha's going to talk about the affinity centers at Tufts.
Yeah, so Tufts has like the group of 6, and then Tufts also has over 15 different special interest houses, including, you know, like the Japanese Language House, the Africana Center, and the Latinx Culture House. And all these houses and centers kind of hold their own social events. And for housing, sophomores, juniors, and seniors can apply to live in these special interest groups. And it's really great because it gives students on campus a chance to live with people who share their cultural or academic interests. Yeah.
Perfect. And then Tufts does offer many different athletic facilities if that's something you're interested in. There's many intramural, club, and varsity athletics. And it's important to note that Tufts is Division III and part of the NESCAC, which is the New England Small College Athletic Conference. Okay, and then next, Maha and Yana are going to talk about Davis Square and Boston.
Yep, so Tufts is about like a 15-minute walk or like a 2-minute drive to Davis Square, which is like the main square in Somerville. And it's really great. It's like a hub of restaurants and little stores to shop around, and there's a movie theater, and there's always something going on over there, and it never gets really boring over there, and it's a great time to spend your weekends. And it's really great because you can access Boston through the Red Line station that they have.
Yeah, and Boston is only about 15 minutes from Tufts, about like 20 to 40 minutes on the T, depending on what time you decide to go out. And you can go out into Boston using the T station in Davis Square, but they're actually building a T station on Tufts campus right now. So around like next year, we'll have that. In Boston, there's many fun things and exciting things to do. There's aesthetic cafes, Faneuil Hall, Boston Commons, Back Bay, and so much more. There's also so many research, internship, and volunteer opportunities in Boston because there are so many just like organizations and schools in the area.
Perfect. So yeah, as Maha mentioned, on the left is Davis Square, and then on the right we have Boston, which are both beautiful places to explore. So now we're going to transition into talking more about specific reasons why we chose Tufts and why you should apply to Tufts. So Kayla and James are going to talk about why they chose Tufts here. Kayla, if you want to talk about the community at Tufts.
Tufts is really great because there are so many passionate students and faculty. One of the reasons that I love Tufts so much is that people were there to actually learn. They didn't do it for the resume. We're all really curious. We want to learn more and jump at the opportunity to do that and find that. So that's one of the things that I really appreciated. It was that authentic curiosity. Also, Tufts is really inclusive and diverse. There's no hierarchy between all the different like grade levels, and it's just like if you have an interest that's unique, you'll find people like you, and better yet, like you could even start things and it's totally accepted. So I really appreciate that about Tufts.
Perfect. And then James, if you want to talk about academics.
Yeah, so when I was applying to schools and touring schools, I think one really big thing for me was I still wanted to keep up with dance. I've been dancing since I was 11 and I love it. It's one of my biggest passions, but I also had a huge passion for biology and biomedical engineering and pre-med. And so I wanted to find a school that would be able to facilitate my different interests. A lot of schools, if there's a dance major or minor, it's through a conservatory. So you can't really work between schools. You have to focus on one school. Whereas with Tufts, if you're doing something related to biomedical engineering or any kind of engineering, and so let's say you're a student in the School of Engineering, you can minor or do a double major in any other school. So, that's why I was able to minor in dance at Tufts. And I think that's really awesome because it shows that Tufts is so open to students getting the experience and getting to learn through different disciplines and get, a degree that symbolizes that they have interests in different aspects and different, different academic, sections and stuff like that. And I think for me, that was really important because I can dance, on Mondays and Tuesdays and then go learn about Christopher Cas9 on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So I just really appreciate it. I think it's really awesome that anyone can, combine their different interests, and Tufts will be 100% there to fulfill that for you. Obviously it takes some careful planning and stuff like that, but it's once you figure it out, like it's a smooth sailing through there. And I've had a very good experience so far combining the engineering with the dance minor and with the math minor. So I think that it's really easy. It just takes some careful planning, maybe a couple of 21 credit semesters or 18 credit semesters. It happens, but it's doable. And Tufts is very much so open to the idea.
Perfect. And then lastly, I'll just talk about location. So one of the main reasons why I chose Tufts was its great location. Tufts is fairly close, as Yana mentioned, to Boston, only about 15 minutes away. But it still has a close-knit campus because the campus is fairly small and it's located in Medford, which we've mentioned, and Medford is a fairly small community. So it's really nice to have that close-knit feeling, yet being close to a city and having access to all of the resources that a city can provide. So next we'll transition into talking about why you should apply to Tufts. So James is going to talk about the collaborative environment.
One thing that really appealed to me about Tufts, and especially I was choosing between Tufts and one other school, and I ended up deciding on Tufts because the day I went, they had a jumbo days where you could meet other students that were also going to Tufts. And I realized that everybody there is so passionate about what they're learning, but they're also so friendly and so open to working with you that I just had to go here. I knew it was the right and perfect place for me. And I think one amazing thing about Tufts is that it's a very, competitive university in terms of it's hard to get into, but once you get in, everybody's super, super nice and super kind and very positive and very willing to work with you and help you. People will be very open to welcoming you into their clubs, and you can really get involved as much as you want. People will work with you to make sure your resume is as best as it can be, and so that way you can get the internships that you're interested in. And people are so willing to collaborate on different projects and stuff like that. For example, a lot of my intro to engineering class work was group projects and stuff like that. And it's awesome because not only do you get to fulfill your own interests academically, you also get to meet new people and make friendships that will last lifetimes. And I think it's just really amazing to know that with Tufts, I don't feel nervous about oh, am I doing well enough in this class? Who cares how you're doing in a class? As long as you're enjoying what you're learning and as long as you're getting the experience that you want, like that's all that matters. And I think that Tufts is really open to making sure that we all work together as one unit and it's not a lot of, negative emotions, because sometimes at more competitive universities, it can be like that. But Tufts is, very unique in that it's very collaborative. And I think that's why it really appealed to me overall.
Perfect. And then Maha's going to talk about Tufts close-knit community.
Yeah, and so continuing with what James said, Tufts is a really great welcoming community where it's very common for students to take out the professors for coffee. So professors and students really have like a great relationship on campus, and it's great because you got like a small school experience, but you have it's kind of placed like in sort of a larger community, and you're allowed really great relationships with your faculty and professors, but you're also able to meet new people throughout your 4 years. So for me, I personally thought that I was getting the best of both worlds, and that I was able to have great relationships with my professors, but also attend a school large enough where I was meeting new people all the time.
Perfect. And then Yana will talk about Tufts mix between liberal arts and research.
Yeah, so Tufts actually used to be a liberal arts college, but later transitioned into a major research university. But with Tufts graduation requirements and all of that, Tufts allows students to really explore both the research side and also the liberal arts college side, where students will take classes that they probably never would have thought about taking, very specific classes and specific topics with in different departments like music, art, science, and math. So it's a really nice mix between the two, and it allows for students to really explore and to learn new things.
Perfect. And then as I mentioned earlier when we talked about academics, what makes Tufts really unique is its focus on interdisciplinary learning. So this was the main reason, as I mentioned also, why I chose Tufts, because I wanted to approach my pre-med studies with a focus on social sciences. So Tufts Community Health really allows me to do that because I'm able to explore my interest in medicine while also looking at things from a public health perspective and involving other disciplines as well. So then to finish off, Kayla will talk about Tufts Global Focus.
So one of the great things about Tufts is not only that it's globally focused in the fact that it has a bunch of study abroads from the UK, Italy, Ghana, all these different places, but also the student body is actually composed of 14% international students. So it's been really interesting personally to learn from these people who grew up in a completely different background from you, apart from the United States. And they bring their own traditions and cultures and perspective, which is really unique, and it creates definitely a more dynamic and receptive learning environment than I've ever been in before.
Perfect. And so now we'll move into talking about favorite Tufts traditions and memories. So I'll go around and ask each panelist, what's your favorite Tufts tradition or memory? If James, you'd want to start us off.
Yeah, so I, as mentioned before, am a member of the Tufts Tap Ensemble, and a lot of the performing arts groups, sports teams, and some other different student groups will do these things called screws. So basically, we call it tap screw, and it's like a little mini formal, and you can invite friends, but also you can just hang out with people that are in the group, and it's a fun little mini party, but it's just very relaxed and very chill, and it's just an awesome way to kind of bond with the other members of your organization or performing arts group and stuff like that. And I just think it was really awesome when I had it fall semester, because we just really bonded together as a group, and it was just a really fun experience. And I felt it was just nice because it felt you don't have to just see these people during your meetings and stuff like that. You can also just hang out with them outside of it. And it was just a nice way to kind of see that oh, wow, these people are really fun to hang out with. I would love to hang out with them outside of just, tapping or, whatever else that you're involved in.
Perfect. And then Maha, would you want to share your favorite tradition or memory?
Yeah. So oftentimes throughout the year, the Tufts University Social Collective will hold these little events in the campus center where they give out free food, and it's like a great way for you to hang out with your friends between classes whenever you have free time. And it honestly, it's like also a great way to meet new people. And so for me, it was great to see like there's always something happening like every month there, and like it's great to eat free food as well. So yeah.
And then Yenna, would you want to share what your favorite tradition or memory is?
Yeah, so I think a very like special memory for like all of the students is during orientation week. There is a lighting on the hill where each student will get a candle, and it's like this lighting ceremony on the hill. And then when the student graduates, we do that ceremony again with our graduating class. So I feel like that's a very special tradition that Tufts has.
Perfect. And then Kayla, would you want to share what your favorite tradition or memory has been so far?
My favorite memory was Shabbat 200, which is an event organized by the Hillel group. So basically 20 students choose 10 people that they want to invite to this event, and one of them was my friends. And it was just such a great moment because it was just like a bunch of people coming together, eating delicious food, eating challah, and just there with the purpose of like love and welcoming people. So for me, it was just a really great event because I got to learn more about the Jewish religion and culture while meeting a bunch of like really, really nice people. So I just absolutely loved it.
Perfect. So yeah, those are a lot of great traditions and memories that are unique to Tufts and hopefully help you gauge whether Tufts might be a good fit. What I also wanted to add is that the Tufts Canon is a very important tradition on campus as well. So basically, different student groups or organizations or even athletic teams will guard this canon, as we can see here, at night, and they'll paint it during the night. And so it usually, you when you walk by it, you'll usually see it varying with different colors and different messages and things like that. So next, we'll continue on to a Q&A session. So basically, our presentation component of the panel has concluded, but we will answer some submitted questions that you all have. And in the future, I will also provide the panelists' email, so you can feel free to shoot them an email if you have any specific questions. So our first submitted question is, what is your favorite location on Tufts campus? So we'll just go around and have everyone answer that. So James, would you like to start off?
I really love the science and engineering complex. I wonder why, but also just because it's very open. The windows there, it's very modern looking building. So it doesn't feel like your typical engineering building where it's very like, windowless and very closed off. It's very like the first floor of it especially has a cafe where the smoothies there are delicious. And then also there's a bunch of tables set up, and it's a very high up building. So, or not high up, but like it's a very tall building. So they have these like very tall, like, see-through glass windows, and it's just like there's so much light in the room. And I think actually Tufts did that because they knew that there's like really high stress rates for engineers or for engineering majors. And so they did that, and it's really nice because you can feel very relaxed while, focusing on whatever lab science or, math or Haas related class that you're focusing on and studying for. And it's just really nice because it balances out the stress that you might experience majoring in engineering, because it's about being passionate about what you're learning and really enjoying it. And so I think Tufts made the SEC very open and very light filled, so that way you didn't have to feel like it was as stressful as it might seem.
Perfect. And then Yenna, would you want to share what your favorite location has been so far?
Yeah, I would say my favorite location was the gym library, which is the library at the Fletcher School. It's super quiet, super nice, and sometimes just like to study for like an exam coming up, I feel like gym has like a really nice study place like upstairs for students to just like sit alone and to focus and to just get work done. So that was one of my favorite spots.
Perfect. And then Kayla, would you want to share what your favorite location has been so far?
My favorite location is probably Carm because of all the memories that I have there. And I lived on that quad my freshman year, and it just like going there for breakfast, like in the morning, kind of just felt like I was going into like my home to like grab my breakfast. It was really quiet, and it's kind of small for what you would picture to be a college dining hall. So it creates a really like intimate environment, and I just also really enjoyed like meeting up my friends after class there, or like meeting some people from my class to like study for something, and like we'd grab a study snack and like just like kind of work on whatever we had to work on. So I really like Carm because of all the memories I have there.
Perfect. And then Maha, would you want to share what your favorite location has been?
Yeah, definitely. The Tufts sports and athletic facilities, their gym is like really great. It's really beautiful, and along with like again, like what James said, like there's like the whole front window is like glass, and so there's always like a lot of light going in, and so I really thought that was beautiful, and it's like a great way to relax and de-stress or whatever. And yeah, just overall, there's like a lot of different like little things to do in the like the center. There's like a tennis court, and there's a lot of things to do in your free time.
Cool. And then our next question that was submitted is, how do you balance pre-med with sports and other extracurriculars? So would anyone want to answer that?
I feel like personally, since I'm a biology major, pre-med is really integrated in my work and in my classwork. So it's just like balancing any other classwork. And going into college, I expected to have the same intensity of high school. And, you know, high school, it's a lot like you're at school at 7:30 until like 3 or 4, and then you have like after school activities until like sometimes 10 or even later. But in college, you don't really have that. Like you have a lot of pockets of time. So for me, it was more just about like maximizing on those pockets of time that you have, and you should be able to balance your work.
Okay. Yeah, those are all really good insights. And yeah, does anyone have anything to add to that, or? Okay. And then our next question is, what is the hardest part about being a pre-med student at Tufts? So would anyone want to speak to that?
I can talk about it a little bit. So I think Kayla mentioned this in like once before, but the way she rephrased it, and I thought it was really valuable in that she said it's not really what's the hardest part about being pre-med Tufts. It's more about how it's actually easier at Tufts than it is at other schools. And I think it was Kayla who said that, but it might have been someone else. But I think one thing to keep in mind is that Tufts really makes sure that pre-med can be facilitated into whatever major. And that's why we see so many diverse majors that are all pre-med. We see Smita, who's majoring in community health, whereas Kayla's doing biology. Yenna can create her own major and still facilitate pre-med. And Maha is doing biochemistry. And I'm doing engineering. And like, regardless of what school you're in, you can still facilitate pre-med because Tufts really makes it easy to fulfill your core requirements through doing pre-med related courses. That's why like my foundation electives for biomedical engineering, I can use those to fulfill organic chemistry and biochemistry, and why my hot electives I can use to do psychology and sociology and community health and get experience in pre-med related courses that you can easily facilitate into your curriculum. And I think that's really awesome because a lot of other schools, it's harder if they won't allow certain courses that are pre-med related to fulfill into your curriculum. So, you rarely will see somebody with engineering at another school that does pre-med, but whereas with Tufts, I know at least like 5 other biomedical engineers in my year that I know personally. I don't know every single BME major, but I know at least like 3 to 5 BMEs that are also pre-med. And I think that's like awesome that you can combine it with, different majors and stuff like that. And so, and not only can you combine it with different majors, but you can also minor in a bunch of different related, or unrelated fields and still fulfill pre-med. So I think actually it's more about Tufts makes it really easy to be a pre-med student. And I think it's actually easier at Tufts than it is at other schools. So, yeah.
Perfect. And so our last question is Boston a good city to study in? So would anyone want to speak about that?
Yeah, I can speak on that. Yeah, so Boston is like honestly like a really, really great city to study in. Like there's more than like, I don't know, like more than 50 colleges and universities that are actually located like within and around the city. And so there's such a perfect mix of like diversity, community, and there's just so many opportunities, whether or not it's for like education, for work, and also honestly for like exploring like all of these little cool spots in the city. And it's really accessible through the MBTA, and it's just honestly like a perfect mix of like for student life. It's just very fitted for student life.
Perfect. So yeah, that concludes our Q&A session as we've answered some of your submitted questions. What I did want to do is provide you with all of the panelists' emails, as all of them have agreed to giving more information based on their interests. So all of the emails are listed here. And then James will talk about some further resources.
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of questions you might have about admissions that we might have not discussed in this presentation. So it's definitely important to utilize not only the Tufts admissions website, but also info for first year applicants, which are the first two links provided here. All right, obviously during COVID right now, it's hard to do an in-person tour. And so Tufts has been doing virtual tours, and it is honestly, I would say very effective. I know a bunch of people that have been tour guides in the past that are, you know, working to be virtual tour guides and stuff. And I know a lot of the people that are like doing like different internships for the Tufts admissions that have shared their, you know, information about virtual tours, and they're very effective. Listen, they're not going to be the same as an in-person tour, but regardless, they provide really comprehensive information. They show a great display of the campus. And I think one benefit of a virtual tour is that you don't have to plan, if you're not from the Boston area or the, you know, nearby in Massachusetts, you don't have to plan a whole weekend to head out to, you know, Tufts University and do a tour. You can, you know, do it virtually. And I think that can be a benefit for people who don't necessarily go or live nearby the general Boston area. So I definitely recommend a virtual tour. The link is provided right there. And yeah, definitely check it out.
Perfect. So that concludes our Tufts panel today. Let's take a minute to thank all of the Tufts students who volunteered their time to speak about Tufts. We really do hope that this presentation helped you gauge whether Tufts might be a good fit for you. And then I'm going to speak a bit about the College Ambassadorship, which has hosted this event. So the College Ambassadorship program has a lot of free resources and mentoring opportunities for you as a high school student, ranging from events like today's event to our mentorship program. Currently, we're accepting students on a rolling basis. So if you head to our website, www.collegeambassadorship.org, you can go ahead and sign up to be matched with a college mentor who will provide you with one-on-one advice about pre-med, pre-health careers, college admissions, and everything in between, all for free, as this is a volunteer-based program. You can also follow our Instagram, contact us with any questions at our email, and join our weekly mailing list for our newsletter, which is also open to all high school students. So yeah, follow us on social media to stay updated. Thank you all and have a great day.